Hey guys, as you well know, my entry into the National Pride Group build, which is going to be the Alcock Brown and Alcock and Brown Phantom FGR2, has met a bit of a sticky process because unfortunately my kit was short moulded on the actual fuselage on the left hand side. So I've been in touch with Hornby and they've given me their customer service email address, which I basically sent them a long-winded email about and tried sending it, but the postmaster on my Gmail does not recognize the email address for some reason that they quoted to me. So I'm a bit of stuck at a bit of a sticky situation with the kit. So I sort of weighed things up and I was going to withdraw from the group build, but we all are in a very precarious position at the moment with this coronavirus. And I think some of us modelers have only got the only therapy that's going to take our mind off it is to build a model. Now I know I've got another project on the go, but obviously with this sort of full stop I've come to with the Phantom, I didn't really want to withdraw from it and I wish to carry on. So this, believe it or not, was going to be my original um, entry into the National Pride Group build, and then I thought to myself, no, I'll go for the Phantom. And then obviously I came across my problem, which you saw in my last video. So I've gone back to my original entry I was going to come in with, and it's going to be the Italeri 172nd Western Wessex HU5. Now I've got a bit of a personal connection to this bird because back in the mid 70s, when my father used to own an off license at Guildford in Madrid Road, more often than not, we'd see these aircraft fly over, one, two, three, or four of them. And we always knew when we could hear a Wessex coming. And I always looked up and admired this bird. And believe it or not, it was either that or the old Puma, which at that time was the frontline troop carrying helicopters of the Royal Air Force. Now that's changed because the old Wessex was retired in 2003, and since then we've got the Chinook, although the Puma is still going strong, now based at RAF Benson, whereas RAF Odium is chiefly maintained with a squadron of Chinooks. Um, I did hear that the airfield was going to close, but as far as I know, it's still operational. Um, and it's got quite a checkered history because that was the place where in 1952, was it 53, the Queen, shortly after her coronation, had a Royal Air Force review there. And if anybody has seen the photographs, boy, did we have some aircraft there that day. But anyway, harping back to this, we used to see a lot of these Wessex from 72 Squadron fly over from time to time to and back from RAF Odium, which isn't all that far. And in fact, many a Sunday afternoon, um, all of us would go off to RAF Odium and park the car on the outskirts of the airfield and do blackberry picking on the blackberry bush and watch the two squadrons of, well, Pumas, which I can't remember the name of the squadron, based there then, and 72 squadrons of Wessex operate around and fly around. So, yeah. So, originally, as I say, we're going to enter it, but then I thought the Phantom, and now obviously I've come up with the problem with the Phantom. I can't continue with that. So, that's now going to become a shelf queen for a bit until I can get a replacement fuselage for it. So to continue with this group build, I have now got a revised entry, which is, as you see, the Italeri Western Wessex HU5. Now, I'm not sure if this kit is still in production. I believe it isn't. So I managed to pick this one up on eBay around about 2 months ago. And my original intention then was to do it as a 72 Squadron bird, which was based at Odium around about circa 74 to 78 or 79. And no, I haven't got coronavirus. That's just a dry cough, so don't get worried. So yeah, and I was determined to keep going on with this because we need something to represent our national pride, and I thought there's nothing better more than the old Wessex. And it had quite a long service life. In fact, I think it was in the Royal Air Force for over 40 years and was a major workhorse, not only as a troop transport, but also as I think it was a search and rescue helicopter in the old familiar yellow scheme. Until the old Sea King took over, and obviously now the Royal Air Force doesn't have a SAR flight anymore because it's all done by private operators. So yeah, she's a good old bird. They've got one or two, I think, preserved flying now. I think one of them recently actually took to the air, and I think there's a second one in the process of possibly going airborne soon. Now, I don't know if it will be flying around the first half of the air show circuit this year, because obviously with the issue with the coronavirus, a lot of air shows are possibly going to get cancelled, and a lot of model shows, etc., are going to be cancelled, like everything sport, everything, until this coronavirus passes over. So me being a modeler, and possibly I may well be off work for a while, there's no better way of passing the time and keeping your mind occupied than building a model. So this group build is a good consensus to do so. So I've decided I'm going to continue with it. Whether I get this finished or not in time, I don't know. But considering I may well be off work for 2 weeks, I'll probably get a lot of progress done. We shall see, because we don't know what's going to happen next, and it's changing day by day by day. So there you go. Anyway, enough about that. We don't really want to talk about it. We've heard it enough on the news, radio, etc., and all the newspapers. Yeah, the actual Wessex actually took to the Royal Air Force service in around about 1968-69, and I think it took over from the old Westland Belvedere, which was retired around about 1967, as the main troop transport. And I think this came in. It was basically developed from the earlier Sikorsky H-34, except it was replaced with a known known de Havilland engine, or a turbo shaft engine, and from then on in became the workhorse of the Royal Air Force up until 2003, I think. As I say, this one I am going to mirror, not as the actual one that's illustrated on the box art, which flew in Cyprus as a search and rescue aircraft. I'm going to do it as a 72 Squadron aircraft based at RAF Odium. So without further ado, we're going to go through this old venerable kit. I know it was a popular one when it first came out, and as far as I know, I think Italy now do a 1/48th version of it, and Sky Model do a 1/32nd version of it, and I know Phil Flory built one recently. So I've not built a lot of helicopters. I think the last one I built was an old Italy Belle Sue when I first moved here around about 7 years ago, and that was long before I actually got my YouTube channel going. And that wasn't a bad little kit, I have to say. I have got a few optional extras to detail this up, as well as an aftermarket decal sets. So I'll run through those as well. But first off, we're going to go through this. Now, the kit number on this one, if you're looking for one on eBay, is kit number 082. 1/72nd, obviously. And as you can see depicted on the box art, this is of a version which was based out in Cyprus as the search and rescue helicopter, with a familiar dark sea grey, dark green top with the black underneath, which is very similar to the one that I shall be doing. But what designates this more is the big Union Jack on the front. Now, the decals are not in the best of state, because obviously this is an old kit and this one's been sitting around in someone's loft for God knows how long, so they have deteriorated. So it was a good excuse to get the aftermarket decal set. So on the back, the actual kit itself has got two other colour options for you. One based of 847 Squadron, Royal Navy Malaysia 1969. And then you got one underneath is of a Wessex at 772 Squadron, Royal Navy HMS London, flight 1981 in the overall European green. So there you go. On the side, you've got a little history about the aircraft, and then obviously you've got the box art illustration both sides of the box, and then that's about it. It's an open-ending box, and you've got, I think, hang on, let me have a little look, 3 sprues. As I say, I've got an instruction sheet here, which is, as you can see here, in pamphlet form. It's a little bit faded, but it looks like he spilt some coffee over some of it, but there you go. And then I think you've got the kit decals. If I can get them out of the box, that is. Bear with me, guys. Just trying to get all the aftermarket out first. I've got that. Oh yeah, there's the kit decals. Yeah, they're not in a great state. I think you'd probably still use them, but I don't know. Not quite sure, so I'll keep those as spares, to be honest with you, for the future. That's about it, so I'll take that out of the way. Right. As I say, you've got a little history about the aircraft in so many languages, okay, including Chinese or Japanese. Then you've got a little sprue tree in there with all the kit parts, as you can see there, and some of the symbols during the process of the build. And then obviously the first and then above here you've got all the colour call-outs in Model Master. And then basically it's going on to the first process of the build, which is basically you've got the 2 fuselage halves, which you can see here, and it's donating that you should put various holes in them. And on the other sides of the fuselage. And then first off is the assembly of the actual cockpit seats, which you can see here, and then the internal workings of the actual cockpit itself, okay, along with the control yokes. You've got moulded on pedals there, and that's the back part of the actual cockpit, and then you must fit the cockpit seats on as well. I have actually got some aftermarket for this, so there you go. Next process is basically to fit all the seats for the troops together, and then the assembly of the actual tail rotor, which you can see here, and then the internal workings of the fuselage, which you can see there as well. And then it's a case of basically putting the glass parts in, clear plastic parts in, adding the internals in it and the cockpit, and then putting the 2 fuselage halves mated together along with the tail rotor. And then underneath, you've got the underneath part of the fuselage with the rear end tail wheel to go on, and then the assembly of the exhausts, which you can see there. And then basically you've got the nose and the actual radiator gill to go on the front there. I've got some aftermarket which will replace that. And then you've 2 nose halves go together along with some lumps and bumps, and basically the exhaust stacks go on. Okay. Next process after that is the assembly of the actual control column, which you put a decal on, or it's giving you a colour guide here to paint it. 2 wheel halves go together. You put the rear radiator air grill onto the back of the actual spine. Some lumps and bumps on there. Your undercarriage legs go on, etc. More lumps and bumps. Nose goes on. And then obviously you add some more lumps and bumps on the side here. Add the clear canopy on, along with some pitot tubes, etc. And then more lumps and bumps go on, which I think is where the winch goes, possibly. You have the winch system onto the side there, along with the door, which you can have open if you should so wish. More lumps and bumps go on, including the rear tail rotors, etc., or rear ailerons. And then underneath you've got the carriage part of where the tow trolley is. Okay, so that goes underneath the fuselage as well, depending on which version you want to do. And then obviously you've got the assembly of the main rotor, etc. That goes on, and there, Bob's your uncle, you have one built Wessex. Now obviously you've got the three colour options on here. First one is of an 84 Squadron Royal Air Force search and rescue helicopter based in Cyprus in 1987 with the traditional dark sea grey and dark green with the black underneath, and then obviously you've got the band, and then obviously the Union Jack at the front, and it's giving you a colour guide here for the rotors as well. And then underneath that you've got the HMS London version, which was used as their flight for 772 Squadron with the overall European green. And then finally you've got the 847 Squadron version based out Malaya around about it says 1986. I don't believe that's right. I think it's 1966. And that is basically with the light ghost grey. Oh no, it's not. That's with the sand and dark green. Now I got a feeling this was the version that was based on HMS Bulwark, or was it Albion? I don't know, I can't remember. I'll have to look that up. So that's basically that, guys. Trying to get it back to how it was there. Not the easiest. There you go, done that. Put it back in the box. Now, we're going to the crux of this, which is the kit itself. Now, it's all moulded in a dark grey plastic. It's quite sturdy plastic, I have to say. Nice recessed panel lines, as you can see here on the actual fuselage side here. Nice and crisp. There's a little bit of flash for the undercarriage part for, I suppose, the tow hook or whatever it is. Then you've got the nose halves here, the main air filter, for which you actually put the grill on, but I've got an aftermarket one which I shall be using. Exhaust parts right here, underneath of the actual fuselage. You've got the access door there, pulley system which goes underneath the fuselage. That's your rear grille for the engine, and the rear air grill which you've got there. Rear tail rotor which is nicely moulded, if I can get it to focus, which you can see there. And then various sub-assemblies which are attached to the fuselage, as it were, including the winch. So there you go. And on the internal workings, yeah, unfortunately you've got some mould lines here. I've got to sand them down, which is going to be a bit tricky, and then fill the others in. So if you're going to have the cargo, if you're going to have the interior opened up, then you're going to want to see it, and I'm going to actually have this opened up. So there you go. Other part is part of the actual in the floor inside the actual troop part of it. You've got the rear bulkhead, as you can see there. This is the underneath of the actual fuselage where you got engine grill again, and then obviously you've got the moulded seats. Oh, hang on, if I can get it into focus right there, and you can see they've even got the marks of the fabric on there, which is nicely reproduced as well. So if I can get it in the focus, as you can see there, right along there. And then obviously this is the top part of the seating as well. This is part of the actual front bulkhead, which is nicely detailed. It'll come up nice with a wash. And I think this is the rear bulkhead for the cockpit as well. Not bad. And then obviously you've got the main control column here with the pedals, etc. And then the other part, the fuselage, again, this is some nice matte panel line detail on there. Very nicely captured. Again, I'm going to have the same problem with the interior where you've got world seams here. So they're going to have to be filled in and delicately sanded so that you don't lose the internal sort of frame, as it were. Rotors, I have to say, are rather nicely done. They've even got the kink as well for the weight of the actual rotors when it's actually at a standstill, so you haven't got to bend them in hot water. Wheels aren't badly detailed either, although they're in two separate halves. I might go for some aftermarket, and the only trouble is there's no flat heavy spot on them either, so I may look into that. Again, you got the workings of the actual back rotor, which you can see there. Side parts of the seats, the main seats themselves, which have actually got the belts moulded on them. I don't know if you can see that. Yep. And then obviously you've got the rear tail rotor, which tail planes there. I think they sort of move in one sort of continuous movement. So there you go. So that's that. And then obviously you've got the clear parts right here, including the windscreen wipers, which is nicely done. And I think there's some internal workings on this as well, because you've got a little control column up there, which I think you can paint. Although on the aftermarket set, I think there's incorporating that as well. I wouldn't say it's the clearest canopy, but it's not bad. So there you go. Now, I have got a mask set for when I actually paint this, for the keeping the canopy sort of nice and sharp, from Edward and from Airwaves. I've got a little detail, so even if I've wanted the tail actually folded in half, you've got the internal workings right here, as you can see. Various parts which go on the kit. You've even got the control panel, and for the side parts of the seat, which is much more accurate. And I think you've even got the seat belts in this, possibly. Then you've got the grills for the intakes, which you can see here, which is nicely detailed. And that's really going to enhance the kit quite a bit. So I've decided to get them in as well. And you've even got the pitot tubes. And then obviously the grab handles, because I used to have to climb up into the cockpit, obviously. There's your seat belts as well. Unfortunately, this doesn't come painted, so I'm going to have to paint these after I've put them in. So there you go. Now, I managed to get this old model decal sheet, which is model decal sheet 95, on a recent model show. I think I actually got this one at Telford, I'm not sure. Actually, beg your pardon, I actually got this on eBay, so there you go. As I say, you've got the option of doing an early HC2 with the different nose. And I'm not quite sure. Yeah, this was a 72 Squadron Bird RAF Odium. You can either do it in the original scheme, which was basically the same as I say, dark sea grey, dark green on the top, and then underneath you had a gloss light aircraft grey. I'm not going to do it in that one. I'm actually going to do it in the standard camouflage at the time, dark sea grey and dark green with black underneath. So that's the version I'm going to do. Hang on a minute, have we got that? And then obviously you got the option of doing a bird at RF Gütersloh 1974. And that was with 18 Squadron. And then obviously you got the Yellow Bird, which was the search and rescue version. And then again you've got another, this is the version I'm going to do, which was based at Odium with this was 28 Squadron at Kai Tak, August 1972. And then obviously you've got the RF Odium version down here, but I will be doing it with the black underneath. So there you go. And then obviously I've also got a couple of letter sets to enhance the decals, because I haven't got everything there, which is going to come in handy. So this is extra decal set, XT X72065 with 16, 18, 20, 24, 30 and 36 and 48 inch letters. And then on this one, this is slightly smaller. I've got this one which is X72 157 extra decal set. And that's got slightly smaller ones, which is 4, 6, 8 and 12 inch black letters. So there you go. So basically guys, that is what my entry into the National Pride group build, or revised entry into National group Pride group build will be. I'm probably going to get started on this, not this weekend, but as and when I get some free time, possibly in the following week. And I'll obviously give you further updates on my stews back on the bench, or as and when I can. So I'm just going to pop the parts back into the box. Yeah, as I say, it doesn't look a bad little kit. And I think, to be honest with you, apart from Eastern Express, which do the HAS1, which is a bit crude, this is a fairly decent kit, and is the only one that you can actually get hold of Wessex in 1/72. I'm not sure if these are still in production at all, because obviously they went on to do the 1/48 versions, which aren't cheap anyway. But as I say, I'm hoping this is going to turn out well. And as I say, it is in the version that I've always wanted to do it in, which is the 72 Squadron Bird, which was based at RAF Odeum. Anyway, that's it for now, guys. All of you out there, I know it's not a very secure, unsure time for us all, and we're living through unprecedented events. But if you're into this hobby, best thing you can do, guys, is sit and relax and build a model. It's the finest form of therapy, and it certainly takes my mind off things. Anyway, stay safe, keep well, and God willing, we're all going to get through this, and I'm sure we all will. Anyway, that's it for now, guys. So until the next time, get kit crazy, happy modelling, and I will speak to you soon.